Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mindful Homestead. A little bit of a different video today. I want to show you something that I've gotten questions on recently. You know, if you watch the channel, you know that we raise our pigs in the forest. Well, this year it's been a little bit different, but we've in the past raised our pigs in the forest, and we've rotated not through the season, but season to season. So we're not moving the pigs within larger paddocks as they get closer to processing. We put them in a paddock, we let them stay in that paddock the entire time, and then the next year we put our pigs somewhere else. And that's drawn me a little bit of criticism from people who are focused on the regenerative aspect of rotational grazing, rotational agriculture. So I want to take you into the paddocks behind the house and in front of the house this year and show you what things actually look like, and kind of let you guys be the judge of yourself of whether we're destroying the environment around our house or if we're doing something that maybe is a little bit different but isn't necessarily a bad thing. So let's go take a look. As we're walking back there, I do want to say thanks to everybody that purchased from us for our Black Friday sale. We sold a bunch of soap, and it's great. We really appreciate all the support from everybody. So we're getting back into the area where we ran the pigs the very first year we ever did pigs. You can see right behind me, actually, in this corner of the poultry netting, that is where we had the enclosure for the pigs as piglets, where they could learn about electric fencing. And behind me now is the area we turned them out onto once they were big enough to kind of go out into the forest. This was an area with 3 pigs who, it was maybe just under 1/4 of an acre. It wasn't very big. Knowing what I know now, I would have actually given them more space had I understood the whole way we were trying to do things. As you can see, all of the trees, I mean, granted it's fall, so that there's no leaves on the trees now, but all the trees out here are doing well. The undergrowth of the forest is coming back. You can see all that behind me there. You can still see a lot of the fence lines that we used. But if you're looking at this 4 years on, none of the trees back here have died. None of the, none of the damage, quote unquote, that the pigs did while they were here. None of it really created a lasting impression in this area. We put the pigs out here, they came through, they messed some stuff up at their level, 3 feet or lower. But 4 years on, it's pretty much back to normal in here. Full disclosure, there are a few smaller trees that they did girdle and kill, but it's kind of stuff that it wasn't contributing to the canopy, it wasn't contributing to the understory. They're kind of like mid-level trees, and honestly, if we were to come through and kind of thin this out with any other animal, be it, Highland cattle or a goat or a sheep, and raise them in the same area, those animals would have probably done the same thing. This is actually pretty cool. These holes on this tree are from a yellow-bellied sapsucker. They'll land on the tree, they'll kind of dig a hole, they'll suck out some bugs or juice, or I don't really know what they eat, but I know this is where they come from, and then they'll scoot sideways, which is why you see them in lines across. It's not a bug damage on this tree. That's actually from a bird. All right, so that's where we raised pigs in 2019, the first year we had pigs on this property. Now I'm going to bring you over to where we raised pigs in 2020, which was a slightly different area. It's kind of dual. It's a similar area to where I just showed you, but then there was also a more open area, and I'll show you what's going on there. So this area that you're seeing behind me in here is a little bit more open than the other area. The pigs were in here. This was already a little bit more open than it was over there to start with, but being that we've had fewer years of regrowth in here, the forest floor is still a little bit more open. There's less stuff growing back. There is a bunch of grass that you can kind of see growing right there. That area is only part of where we raised the pigs that year, though. I'm taking you out into an area now, which some of you may remember if you're longtime viewers of the channel, but this was kind of an area that was a little bit more open. It was really kind of overrun with low bush blueberries, which are great, they're delicious, but they're pretty hard to harvest, and we weren't really pulling from them. We have cultivated blueberries otherwise, so we wanted to get rid of them. So we stuck the pigs back here, and as you can see, they did a killer job of clearing out the blueberry bushes and letting a ton of natural grasses and kind of meadow type plants come back in. This is the sort of disturbed area that pigs are known for creating in the wild. Like if you go to, you know, areas where pigs are native, and I'm not talking about feral pigs here in the States that decimate farmer crops, but if you go to places where pigs live naturally, this is the sort of thing that they're doing. They're turning over areas that may be overgrown or have been invaded by, you know, some sort of invasive plant or a single plant, and they're essentially rooting it up and starting fresh. This sort of transitional habitat, this more open habitat, in conjunction with the logged area that you see out back that we did last winter, this is the sort of thing that's going to create those side habitats for deer and birds and animals that, you know, thrive, that can do well in the forest, but also want these more open areas. Wild turkeys are a big one. You can have wild turkeys in the forest, but wild turkeys during breeding season, they like to come out and they like to have open areas where the males can strut and the females can kind of feel safe because there's an open area around them. They know what's going on. Obviously, if this was fresh, beautiful pasture, we would not have wanted to just dump the pigs in here and let them have at it for as long as they want. You know, regardless of what people say, even with the grazing pigs like your coonies and IPPs, if you leave them in an area long enough, they're going to start rooting. So here, while we did let the pigs decimate it, it was because we wanted to kind of pull this land back from what it was and how wild it had become, and turn it back into something that was a little bit more manageable when we do finally convert this into more of a silvopasture type of space. Let's take a walk back up front now, and I'll show you where we just essentially turned the pigs loose last year and let them go crazy. And you can see what it looks like a year on. So this spot in here is where we ran the pigs last year, and we just let them go crazy. We didn't rotate through here again as usual. We put 9 pigs in this area, which is maybe just over a little bit of a quarter of an acre. It's as stock heavy as I would want it back here. But what you can see looking around in here is that the pigs didn't really do anything permanently damaging to the area. They kept it nice and open. Again, as the first place, there's a few small trees that had tender bark that they ate the bark off it, they stripped it, and some of them are girdled. But at the same time, if the goal is to open up your forest, allow the light to kind of push through and build maybe some pasture areas in here, some shade grasses that could tolerate some grazing, this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's what you're looking to do. If you were diligent about it and kept your pigs moved through a forest like this, you could prevent that sort of thing. We wanted the pigs to clean this out, and we wanted them to kind of do a little bit of a decimation job on it. If you're looking to change a landscape, pigs are probably one of the best animals to do that with, just because if you keep them in one area, they will destroy it. See the last video entitled Pigs Destroy Everything on our channel. Which brings us to the 4th place we've put pigs on our farm in a year-to-year succession, which is this new front pasture that we're working to convert. You can see behind me, we still gave them some forest, but the bulk of what we gave them this year was about an acre and a quarter of freshly logged and stumped land, which you can see behind me. That forest gave them the ability to kind of do the things pigs do and lounge in the shade and, you know, just generally hang out, which is what they did. They hung out up there. But we gave them this whole area a couple months in, which when we gave it to them was green. There was things growing, mostly weeds and some grasses that we had planted, but mostly just free for them to do whatever they want, a pig free for all. And now they've taken it, they flattened it out, they have dug some holes, they rooted around, but they've been able to work both their manure and hay bales that we put out here into the soil, so that when we come back and seed this with a pasture mix in the spring, it's going to get an awesome start. It's gonna just spring right up because there's a lot of nutrients in the soil, there's a lot of organic material. It's really gonna give that pasture mix the best start it can, so that eventually we can establish some great pasture and get some sheep out here. The work that the pigs did out here compared to using soil amendments like lime and adding topsoil and working hay in by hand and spreading hay and spreading manure. The pigs did all that for me over the course of a season, and we have pork that we can both put in our own freezer and provide to other families who need to eat. Which is why, if we come over to the other side of the driveway, you can see where I'm going to be running pigs next year, which is right behind me here. This portion of the driveway is going to get the same pig treatment next year. We're going to start our piglets up here, and then we are going to electric fence the whole thing in, just like we did over there, and just let the pigs go hog wild, if we're using puns. And while this whole area is not going to eventually be pasture, there's going to be a barn over here and a small sugar house with a small kind of winter sacrificial pasture in the middle. Using the pigs to kind of get that fertilized and just work the land over is not a bad thing for us. It's actually exactly what we would like them to do. I could go through endless times with a rake on the back of the tractor, but if I can get the pigs to do that work for me over the course of a year and fertilize it on top of that, then it's a win-win in my book. I do want to throw in the disclaimer that it is really muddy over there. We've gotten some snow and some freeze-thaw cycles, and we have the pigs longer than we were supposed to. They were supposed to go for processing at the beginning of November, so normally we wouldn't have pigs this late into the year, and we wouldn't really be dealing with this fall mud fest that usually doesn't hit until later November like we are now and early December. In a perfect world, they wouldn't be in all this mud right now. They would have gone to processing before this turned to mud, because now you're going to run into issues with compaction and other, sort of damage that they can do if you keep something on it too long. I guess the asterisk to throw on this whole talk is that this doesn't work, or our system doesn't work, for year-round piggery, unless you have a place, a barn with a slab and a specific pasture for wintering that you can kind of mitigate all these problems with. Pretty cool shot with me walking away and that sunset in the background. Looks great. So hopefully this video gave you an insight into our practices and how we choose to do things, and the rationale behind why we don't intensively rotate our pigs throughout the season, but we give them an area that we want them to do some work on and kind of tailor the work that they do based on how long we actually keep them in there. We have enough land and we're comfortable enough with keeping our pigs in electric fencing that we can kind of throw them around and have them do work for us. If you're thinking about doing this on your small farm or homestead, obviously you want to factor in the amount of land that you have, how many pigs that land can take, the amount of change that you want to see in the land. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. But if you're looking to raise some pigs and you have some changing on your land that you want done, definitely look at doing kind of the pig destroyer grazing, I guess you could say. By moving them around from paddock to paddock year to year, you're not going to overgraze any specific area. You're not necessarily going to run into as many parasite problems. There's a lot of benefits to doing it this way if it fits into your overall scope of your farm and how many pigs you want to raise and all that other good stuff I mentioned. If you like this video and you want to see more, make sure to head down below, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, thank you for watching and hope you're having a great day.